Hello everyone, I'm Rona and I'm here to tell you a few things before your last P1 exam. Remember that this is still an exam, so don't stress too much about it. I know that some of you might be thinking, oh, this is the last one, there's so much of pressure on me. Don't worry about any of that, just treat it like any exam that you have been doing. Now, I know that you know the structure of the paper, but I'm just going to go over the structure of the paper very, very quickly. Okay, so in P1 you have section A and section B. Within section A you have a 50-mark question where you also have your 4 professional marks. The 50-mark question will be divided into 5 or 6 questions, and the professional marks are for the way you write the answer, for the flow, for the structure, for the formats. So make sure that you know the formats of maybe a briefing note, a statement. Go over that very quickly. Then you have section B. Within section B, you'll be given 3 questions, out of which you can choose 2. Yeah, and these are going to be 25 marks each. Make sure that you go through all of the requirements carefully before choosing the 2 questions. You might be comfortable with one of the requirement, but you might not be comfortable with the other 2. So go over the requirements very carefully and then choose whatever you're comfortable with. As far as the topics in P1 are concerned, you have governance. Within governance, you need to know the principles of the UK Corporate Governance Code. You also need to know the difference between a unitary board and a two-tier board. Make sure that you know the advantages and disadvantages. You also need to know the difference between a rules-based approach and a principles-based approach. Learn the roles of the committees, like the nominations committee, the remunerations committee. Don't just write general points, roles and responsibilities, just learn them. Yeah, don't write general points. You also need to know what an agency relationship is. You need to explain what an agency relationship is. Then what you have is risk. Within risk, you need to know about the different types of risks, like operational risk and strategic risks. How can a question be asked when it comes to operational and strategic risk? They'll give you 2 risks and they'll ask you, how is risk A or risk B strategic in nature? You also need to know what related risks are, what risk correlation is. So how can a question be asked? Again, risk A and risk B, how are they correlated? Are they positively correlated? Are they negatively correlated? You just need to know the difference. Then what you have is you need to know the risk management process, like how you identify risk, how you assess the risk, how you plan for the risk, how you monitor the risk. Also make sure that you know what risk audits are. Related to risks, you also have internal controls. So when it comes to internal controls, make sure that you know the objectives of internal controls. How can a question be asked when it comes to internal controls? Make sure that how it can be asked is basically there'll be deficiencies in the question. Identify those deficiencies and maybe they can ask you to recommend certain internal controls. Now, there isn't a fixed list for internal controls. Depending on what the scenario is, you'll have to recommend accordingly. Then what you have is internal audit. When it comes to internal audit, what are the functions of the internal audit? Connected to internal audit, you have the audit committee. Make sure you know the roles of the audit committee. Like I said earlier, learn the roles. Yeah, don't go and write general points. Then what you have is ethics. So when it comes to ethics, make sure that you know the theories. Anytime an ethical theory is asked, just go and define it. Even if they don't ask you for the definition, go and define it. So you have theories such as absolutism, relativism, you have pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. You also have Gray, Owens, and Adams, their positions when it comes to corporate social responsibility. Also go over corporate code of ethics very quickly. You can also be tested on environmental and social information. So make sure you know the stages of an environmental audit. Go over integrated reporting, so the capitals as well as the guiding principles. So this is it when it comes to the syllabus areas. Now all you have to do is just keep practicing questions and practice questions to time. Even when you are doing the exam, make sure you always have an eye on the clock. Yeah. So as soon as your time is up, move on to the next question. Yeah. Time management is very, very important. Like I told you earlier, don't be stressed. This is just like any other exam that you are going to write. There might be 1 or 2 bits in the exam that you might not be too sure of. Yeah, but don't stress about that because you know the rest of the paper. Yeah, so if there's 5 marks that you're not really sure of, you still know the 95 marks. So don't focus on the 5 marks that you don't know and forget about the 95 marks that you know. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Just focus on the 95 marks that you know. So don't stress. I'm sure you'll be fine. So good luck for your exam.